Okay, so let's pick up where we left off before. Strategy can be defined in lots of different ways. Here's one definition that is pretty broad. Strategy is the direction and scope of an organization over the long term, which achieves advantage in a changing environment through its configuration of resources and competencies with the aim for fulfilling stakeholder expectations. Okay, so I mean, these are big, long-term choices that a firm makes in an attempt to create advantage, which leads to economic performance in an environment that's filled with competitors, with an environment that's filled with other actors, taking into account its own resources and competencies as it tries to create value and fulfill the expectations of the stakeholders, which include shareholders and other actors. And strategy includes, again, of these competitive moves and business approaches that managers use to run the companies. And it's about making choices after, hopefully, some good analysis. And so how that defines a firm's strategy are things such as how to grow the business, how to please the customer, how to outcompete the rivals, how to manage functional pieces of the business like HR and finance and marketing and production and research and development, how to respond to changes in market conditions, and how to achieve the targeted levels of performance. So strategy really is about the how we do these things. How do we reach our objectives? How do we make the decisions? And where are we going? So these strategic choices that managers make, executives make in guiding the company are made by trial and error sometimes, as the organization learns what works and what hasn't worked in the past, by management's risk propensity, their appetite, as it says, for taking risks, and also managerial analysis and strategic thinking about how best to proceed given market and competitive conditions and the environment that the firm is acting in. So here's a quote here. Among all the different business approaches and ways of competing we could have chosen, we've decided to employ this particular combination of competitive and operating approaches in moving the company in the intended direction, strengthening its market position and competitiveness, and boosting performance. So this is what your strategy is telling everybody about. Out of everything you could have done, we think this is the best way to proceed. Okay. And just like anything else in business, to be successful, you need to try to appeal to the buyers, the customers, in a way, okay, that sets you apart, in a way that's different than the rivals out there. And by carving out a position for the firm in the competitive environment, and also carving out a position for the firm in the minds of the customers. It involves developing a distinctive aha element. So when the customer is looking at your product or service, it's aha, okay, I understand what it is. Something that is surprising, something that appeals to them directly, something that adds value to them, something that is attractive to customers, something that produces a competitive edge and really meets their or exceeds their expectations with respect to the benefits of your product or service. Copying competitive moves of other successful companies rarely works. Because if you're copying, you're behind. If you're copying, you're doing something that someone else has done. It might work in the sense that it might take you forward from where you are, but it won't move you to the front of the pack. If you're okay being in the middle or behind, then maybe copying is something that you want to do. But if you want to move to the front, take a lead, and really create value for your customers and really create value for your owners, then copying won't work. So again, this idea of creating competitive advantage is just the start. We want to not only create competitive advantage short term, temporarily, we want to create sustainable competitive advantage over a long period of time. Okay? And as this says, what separates a powerful strategy from an ordinary strategy is management's ability to forge or create a series of moves, both in the marketplace and internally, that produce sustainable competitive advantage, which means that they have to be on the ball all the time. It's not just great looking at the situation and creating a strategy for today, creating a business model for today, creating a product and service for today. They need to take into account what's coming up tomorrow, analyze what's going on, and continue to make decisions that put them on the right path with respect to their product and service, with respect to their strategic decision making, with respect to their meeting and exceeding customer expectations. And that's how they produce supernormal profits and high levels of economic performance over time. Now, there's a difference here between intended versus realized strategies. And what do I mean by here? Okay, your intended strategy, okay, that's talking about the strategy that you expect based upon the decisions that you've made. On the other hand, the realized strategy is determined by your intended strategy, but also as it interacts with environment itself. Because we may want to do something, but we're not acting in a vacuum. There are other actors, there are other environmental situations, some that we know, some that we don't know, that impact our intended strategy. So our realized strategy is a combination of deliberate and emergent strategies. I have a little picture to show you here. So intended strategy, okay, we want to go this way, but there's some unrealized elements. We're not able to meet all of our objectives, so that's the unrealized strategy. But again, we intend to go this way. This is our deliberate strategy, but we have to interact with what's going on in the environment, and so there's a strategy that we have to develop kind of on an ad hoc or emergent basis. So our ultimate strategy is a combination of this emergent strategy and a deliberate strategy. Strategic formulation, which is the process of developing the strategy, consists of a series of analyses and decisions and actions as well that the firm undertakes to create, hopefully, sustainable competitive advantage. There are a number of different steps. The strategic formulation or the strategic decision-making process is one of basically a decision-making process, but at a high level. So many of the elements here are common to any decision-making process. But it's the scope, the size, the importance, the context that make strategic formulation a little bit more grand, let's say. So here quickly are the steps. Develop a vision, translate that vision into a mission statement. Step 2, define core competencies and target market and identify desired market position. 3, assess strengths and weaknesses. 4, scan the environment for opportunities, threats, weaknesses, as well as trends. 5, identify key success factors. 6, analyze the competition. 7, create goals and objectives. 8, formulate the strategies These are the actual hows or the methods. 9, translate these plans into action. And 10, establish accurate controls so you can monitor whether or not you're meeting your objectives. Now we can add a couple of other steps here is, monitoring your performance, reincorporating the learning again to make sure that we're on the right track. So these are 10 steps. Some have 7 steps, some have 5 steps. Doesn't really matter how many steps you have, but it's the process that's important. Analysis of the external environment, analysis of the internal environment, and coming up with a set of alternatives and picking the best one that meet the objectives, or you hope that meets the objectives that you have. Okay, so step 1. The mission statement addresses questions such as, why do we exist? Why do we exist? And these 3 statements, the mission statement, the vision statement, and also a value statement, depicts the character, identity, and scope of the operation in enough detail to distinguish the company in the marketplace. Vision, what we want to be. Okay? A clear vision provides direction, determines decisions, and can motivate people as well. Values, okay, a value statement includes these things. It's an expression of the entrepreneurial team, of what the entrepreneurial team stands for and believes in, and how they will behave. And this impacts not only the entrepreneurial team, but also has an impact on all of the other employees that you bring in, and also it guides the type of relationships you have with your partners and suppliers and everyone else involved in the business. Step 2, define core competence and market position. Okay. The company should define an initial set of competencies that enables it to serve the customer better than its rival. So when you start a business, and presumably you want to be successful, you need to say, okay, we're going to be really good at this. We want to develop this really well. Okay. Now, this may change over time. As we said, to be really world-class, it may take many, many years and many millions of dollars or euros or kroner to invest in it, but you have to start somewhere. The core competence, as we've talked about before, is a unique set of capabilities that a company develops in key operational areas that allows it to vault past competitors. Okay. It's what the company does best. Okay. And it's often best to rely on the natural advantages the company may have. Now, some of it might be related to size, but some of it just might be related to the skills and competencies of the core team, or some locational issues, or whatever the initial natural advantage may be. Market segmentation, carving up the mass market into smaller homogeneous units. We've talked about this before. You should understand this from the marketing segment and the marketing lectures. And positioning, okay, has to do with creating a desired image of the business, of your products in the customer's mind. Where are you positioned? When they think about high quality, does your name come up? Or when they think about exclusivity, does your name come up? How do you create this position in the customer's mind? A quick and important aside, since we're talking about this market segmentation, and I'm sure you remember this from the marketing lectures, but I just want to quickly go over this. Again, a niche is a very specific and specialized market segment within a broader segment. Okay. And as a new venture, we are most likely going to be focusing on a niche market because we're most likely going to have some sort of a niche strategy. Okay. And the differences here is that a key factor to success in today's market is finding subtle differences to give a company or business a marketing edge, and that businesses that target specialty or niche markets will promote its products and services more effectively than businesses aiming at the average customer. Okay? Because there might not really be an average customer. An average customer might be, more than anything else, just a mathematical anomaly. Okay. Let's stop here, take a quick break, and we'll continue this discussion on niche before we go on to the other steps in the strategic management process.